today's program. I am the director of this Surrey Delta branch of BCMA as well. First of all, to start, I would like to acknowledge the fact that this mosque and this discussion is taking place on unceded traditional territories of the Kwantlen and Coast Salish people. Welcome to the BC Elections 2017 Meet Your Candidates Forum, organized by Alumni newspaper and Surrey Delta branch. As you might be aware that the 2017 BC provincial election will be held on Tuesday, May 9th. It is important for Muslims to participate in the election by way of voting, donating, and volunteering to have their concerns addressed. The purpose to host the forum is to assist potential Muslim voters in finding information about the issues in their respective ridings, which are in this forum. We have invited Surrey Green Timbers riding, Surrey Newton riding, and the Delta North riding. Before we begin, if you have not registered, please register to be informed of future programs and events. The registration table is in the back. Please help us better understand the Muslim voters' priorities by filling out the surveys, which are also on the table in the back. If you have any questions, please write them down. Questionnaire forms are available from the table, or just raise your hands and volunteers will come to you. We will take questions only in the written form. There will be no verbal questions asked directly at the individuals, and each question is going to be just targeted at the issue, not on the individuals. On behalf of Alumni newspaper and Surrey Delta branch of BCMA, we welcome our candidates from the Green Timbers riding, Sarah Ojla from the BC Green Party, Brenda Joy Locke from BC Liberal Party. Please forgive if I pronounce anyone's name wrong. Rachna Singh from BC NDP. From the Surrey Newton riding, we are joined by Harry Baines from BC NDP. Balpreet Singh Bell, Independent. And I think Richard Krieger, BC Green, is not here yet.
He's not going to make it.
From the Delta North riding, we are joined by Jackie Miller from the BC Green. It is hoped that today's program will help us to make an informed choice. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm the last one here.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ravi Kalon from BC NDP. My apologies. It is hoped that today's program will help us to make an informed choice before we cast our ballot in the 2017 provincial elections on Tuesday, May 9th. Now I would like to call upon two of our young students from the Weekend Islamic School to recite some verses of Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
The meaning of this surah is, in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Praise be to Allah, the cherisher and sustainer of the worlds. Most gracious, most merciful, master of the day of judgment. You do we worship, and your aid do we seek. Show us the straight way, the way of those whom you have bestowed your grace, those whose portion is not wrath, and who do not go astray.
Thank you. Thank you, Jazakallah. Surrey Jamea Masjid is a cornerstone for Muslims located Surrey, Newton, and Delta, where most Muslims reside within close proximity. It is forums like this that will help us understand the issues before we actually go out and vote. Just a few housekeeping rules. Washrooms are back there where you came from on the left-hand side. When you go out, they're on the left-hand side for the men, and for ladies, we have washrooms on the top floor, on the second floor, which is from here 2 floors up. There is an elevator or the stairs to go up there as well. Refreshments are being served in the back. Please help yourself. I would like to call upon Brother Sikandar Khan, who is the moderator for the debate, to say a few words and to lay the rules and format of the debate. Brother Sikandar Khan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihi wa kareem. Sayyidina Muhammadu wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Our distinguished aspiring leaders of BC. I know some of them because I have been involved in these kind of situations for a very long time, and I see Brenda and Harry as my old acquaintance in this field. By the way, I'm not a politician. I have been more or less a full-time leader of the community for a very, very long time. In fact, I'm often referred to as the longest serving president of the BC Muslim Association. So I'll leave it at that, and I will move on to the issue on hand, why we are here. As we all know, we have the elections taking place on May 9th, and it is imperative that not only our community, but the public at large should know the issues on hand. We must know, and the only way you can do that is to attend public forums, whereby you have the opportunity to ask questions and get yourself informed. On behalf of the Alamein Post editorial, I would like to thank you for taking the time out to increase the awareness of the issues during the election by participating in our first of the 5 forums to be held around town with all the candidates where most of the Muslims reside. We welcome you to enjoy the discussion with the Muslim community to show that Muslim votes do matter and that Muslims are ready to participate in the 2017 elections. However, the attendance do not indicate that. But let me assure you, our people are normally have to be woken up in the last minute. But they are well informed. They watch the news. They are well informed what is going on in the province and what are the issues that they should be worried about or addressing. They do take care of business that way. But as on a nice Sunday night after a hectic Baishaki yesterday, I think a lot of our people and everybody in the surrounding area, because there was a lot of activity going on in this area, so I guess they could be excused, if they're a little bit late coming in. The rules and format will be very simple. I'm sure you are not in any way, shape or form unaware. It's pretty simple, the same standard rules that you would have anywhere. The forum will help the voters decide who shall be the next member of the BC legislature. To ensure a maximum number of issues are discussed in the limited time frame, the format of the forum shall be as follows. Only written questions will be entertained. This is directed to the public at large. That please do not rise at random and ask questions from the floor. But please, there are notes available, notepads available. Do write your questions on that. There are pen there, the pad there, the volunteers will provide you with those things. Write the questions, pass it over to me or to Brother Jafar, and we shall direct the questions to the members and to the candidates, and we hope that we have the answers from them as well. The moderators will select the questions, edit it if needed. I myself will ask the question to the candidates. The questions will be selected based on the number of questions received in particular categories. Maximum number of questions means more people are interested to know about the issue. The order of speaking shall be decided by a ballot. The candidate with the lowest score shall start in ascending order. Brother Jafar will start speaking. We are right now trying to determine the order of speaking, inshallah. And Brother Jafar will help me determine that. See, it's sometimes good to be independent, you know.
Yes.
Sarah Archer.
6 is Jackson. 7 is
Gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen, we of course to have our orderly question period and question session, we have to keep the time in mind, and we're gonna have a timekeeper who will do that. Furkan Gallan, our very long time senior official and volunteer of the community, he will be keeping the time. Our timekeeper will raise his hands when 30 seconds is left, and then a reminder at 10 seconds before raising his hands for the final time before stopping. In the first round, each candidate will introduce themselves, maximum time allowed, and this is important, 2 minutes. In the second round, from each provincial party, one designated candidate will speak about their party platform. So I'm not going to say Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, you know, so we have, in my assessment, one independent and NDP here, Liberal here, Green Party here, right? So one person designated, so you decide amongst yourself, and then we'll take care of business that way. In the first round, each candidate will introduce themselves. Maximum time allowed will be 2 minutes. So let's be clear about that. In the second round, from each provincial party, one designated candidate will speak about their party platform. I hope it's clear. And he or she will be speaking for 4 minutes. In the third round, in ascending order, the candidates will be asked by the moderators selected questions from the audience. This is what I was referring to earlier. The candidate will have 2 minutes to answer, and only one candidate from the remaining party will have 1 minute for rebuttal. So the question would be addressed to a party. Of course, he will be responding it, and then one candidate from each party to respond. And in the fourth round, the moderators will ask one question to all the candidates. And I will give you a heads up. In one word, describe yourself. So the constituency have a right to know who we're dealing with and who we are going to vote for. Before closing with the remarks, for 1 minute each. So that basically is going to be the order of business. And let me now ask each member to introduce yourself. Balpreet, that's by the luck of the draw.
Hello, my name is Balpreet Bell, and independent candidate from Surrey Newton. Just want to start off by saying thank you for having us here, really appreciate that. And a little bit about myself. We immigrated here to Canada since when I was 3 years old, and we lived in Maple Ridge, and from there moved on to Surrey, where majority of our life I've spent in Newton. So, majority of my life spent in Newton, did our schooling here, went through the system, and I attended Princess Margaret Secondary School, right down the street here actually. And that's when we got to see what's kind of going on at the ground level with our youth, with our next generation coming up. And sometimes it's a little hard to see everybody going down, not necessarily everybody, but a lot of people going down that path that led us to get involved in politics in the first place. Looking around, seeing our generation kind of not really stepping up, taking enough initiative to have a safe future here. And from Princess Margaret, we went to Simon Fraser University in mechatronic systems engineering and have a background in economics and marketing as well. Also a small business owner in the Newton area, Bell Realty Services. We employ about 50 members of the community, and majority of them are under the age of 30 as well. And all we're trying to do is make it so we can take the first step and get involved in this process so we can have a say in what our requirements are for the future as well. And I think I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. The next candidate is Rachna Singh.
Hello, my name is Rachna Singh and I'm NDP candidate for Surrey Green Timbers. Thank you to the organizers for giving us the opportunity to come and address you all. Little bit about myself. I came to Canada in 2001 with my young family and I made Surrey my home. I'm really thankful to Surrey, like to making me feel at home, like leaving a country behind, coming here, settling down. It was a very hard task, but all the love that I got from the community, I can never forget. I worked as an alcohol and drug counselor and as a counselor for women fleeing violence. And I saw firsthand that all the funding cuts that were happening at that time and the effect that it was having on the most vulnerable populations. As a counselor and also as a union activist later, I have always stood up for the working families and also for the social justice and human rights issues. I'm extremely concerned about the increase in racism that has been happening over the last few months especially. Racism was always part of our society, but I think like since the elections south of the border, it is like becoming more prevalent and more out in open. So I have been very vocal about those issues, and those are the issues that I'm passionate about. Like I'm working for the people and the work that I was doing before, and that's what I would like to carry on in my next role. Thank you.
Thank you. Harry Bates.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Harry Baines, candidate for Surrey Newton. It is always my honor to come and stand before you to earn my right to represent you. Because every day, I believe the last 12 years, I worked hard to earn that privilege. And I want to thank the community for giving me that confidence to represent them in Victoria. I also came as an immigrant when I was a little over 18-year-old. And soon I realized that there are so many things in the society that new immigrants feel, racism being one of them, discrimination. It was very open in those days, in 1971. You couldn't drive from here to downtown Vancouver without somebody giving you a finger or calling you effing Hindu. And I think that's what got me into politics, first through my union activities, human rights, workers' rights, because it was happening at workplaces, it was happening in neighborhoods. And I believe, and my friends believe, that we need to stand up. If we don't do that, who will? And there were many organizations at that time that I worked with, but on my own, I knew that I need to step forward and I need to play my part, because I looked at the history. Many people who came before us, like Hassan Rahim, they came and they stepped forward and gave us the Canada that we have. They never gave up on Canada, although they were discriminated against by the government through legislation. It was a legislative discrimination those days. They stood up. They wanted to make a better Canada for us. It was our duty, I believe, now to make sure that we make our Canada even better Canada for next generation to come. That's why I'm asking for your support again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harry. Ravi Kahlan.
Yes, thank you again for hosting us. I want to thank everybody on the stage. It's not easy being a candidate, let me assure you. I've been doing it since December. It's difficult to put your name forward. I respect everybody on the stage. I was born and raised in Victoria. I moved over to Delta in just after 2003. But before that, my family immigrated to Canada in the 70s. And like most immigrants, they wanted a better life for themselves. And when they got here, they discovered what most immigrants do, which is it's a lot harder than people think it is. And my mom worked washing dishes all night, and my dad worked at the mill all day. And you know, soon after a few years, they realized an important lesson, which was their life, their hopes, their aspirations might not be achieved, but they knew that their kids would have more opportunities because of their efforts. And so that's why I'm so fortunate, because of their efforts, that I got to represent Olympics, Canada at the Olympics twice, and I'm fortunate enough to stand here before you running for elected office. We're going to be talking about issues a lot next little while, but it's an important lesson that my parents taught me when I was growing up, which was respect your elders, make sure that you make an honest living, and that do your best to ensure the next generation has more opportunities than you do. And so that's what drew me to the NDP. When I saw the government and their actions, you know, how our seniors are being treated. In my community alone, 5 out of 6 senior homes don't even have enough staff to take care of the seniors. That means they can't even get 1 bath a week. When I look at good paying jobs and making an honest living, it's hard. When every day your MSP goes up, hydro goes up, all these fees go up, and at the same time, everybody else that are millionaires are getting tax cuts. And as far as our young people, everyone knows your school kids are in portables, there's no school supplies, and so on and so on. So we'll get into all those details, but I thank everybody for hosting us here today.
Thank you, Ravi. Sarah Ujla.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sarah Ojla, and I am from Surrey Green Timbers riding as a Green Party candidate. I've been in Surrey for the last 30 years. I've been here since 1987, and I have seen quite a bit of Surrey moving. My kids grown up here. They're all born here. I have 4 kids. I have seen their school systems, how they have been treated in schools. They have to move from one school to the other school. They cannot get education what they need to be from one school to the other. But foreign students are allowed to have this education, but not ours. I have to send my daughter out to Kamloops to study because she couldn't get any courses here. So that's one big issue our kids are having, and it's a big issue. And we will, as a Green Party, is my first priority to take care of that. My background, I moved from Hong Kong 30 years ago, and I've been very active in the community. I've been a realtor for the last 25 years. I have seen Surrey growing. I have seen Surrey growing the way it is just, couldn't imagine we have only 1 hospital, where Vancouver has 7 hospitals. Where's the hospital? Another hospital. We need another hospital. They are things that has been never acknowledged, but when people coming out, when we are doing the door knocking, some people will cry in front of you because some system has failed. The reason I'm getting up is BC Green is there to listen to each and every solution that has not been heard for the last 16 years. I hope you guys will come out and support us as much as you can. We'll appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie Miller.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you to our hosts for inviting me today, and thank you to everyone for coming out to participate in our democracy. My name's Jackie Miller, and I'm the BC Green candidate for Delta North, my hometown riding. Growing up in Delta helped to shape me to be who I am today, as did growing up in a mixed-race family. At the age of 4, my father married my now stepmother, Mubina, a former Ugandan refugee who with her Muslim family was driven out of her home by Idi Amin at the age of 8. This helped me to learn early on about diversity of different cultures around the world and begin to fight against racism early on. Through other refugee friends of mine, I've learned about the challenges many newcomers face in coming to terms with opportunities to integrate, to find meaningful work, to feel welcome, and to feel happy. One of my friends who works as an advocate for newcomers from Africa has let me know about the challenges that a number of refugees that he helps with integrating, a number of whom have lost their lives because they've been told that they're going to find a better life here, and then they aren't finding the opportunities to integrate and fall into unfortunate paths, and several that I've met have lost their lives. So that's to say that I am committed to being an ally to all peoples, including Muslim peoples. I've attended marches and rallies against Islamophobia in response to the murders in Quebec and Donald Trump's so-called Muslim ban, and I'm sorry to even say those words. So I'm a sincere ally for the Muslim people, and I'd like to very strongly encourage you to participate in our democracy. About me and my professional background, I have a bachelor's and a master's in political science. I did my bachelor's at Simon Fraser, my master's at University of Victoria. I've worked in senior positions in government, reporting directly to the Deputy Minister of Industry in the government of the Northwest Territories. I work as a researcher and project manager now for First Nations, working to help shape Canada to be who Canada should be.
Thank you, Jackie. We shall now move to round number 2.
One more.
Oh! Sorry.
That's okay.
Old always forget.
I get another minute, right? Okay.
Yeah. You get extra 30 seconds. No problem.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Brenda Locke, and I'm running with the BC Liberal Party in Surrey Green Timbers. I am a former MLA and cabinet minister, and I was the Minister of State for Mental Health and Addiction Services. So that's my formal background as well, and I work in a healthcare organization right now in administration. I've lived in Surrey for 37 years and raised my kids here. They've gone to public school here, and now I'm a nana, grandma. And so that's all a part of who I am very personally. but I'm also an active member in our community and have been for quite a while. I'm on the board of Surrey Urban Mission, and the mission is on 108 in King George, and I thank people very much in our community for the support we get there. It is not a government-funded organization. We just provide services to people, 350 meals a day. I think one of the things somebody mentioned before about the growth in our city, and that is something that we've all both struggled with and been able to embrace in Surrey. But it is certainly a challenge that we face here, and one of the reasons that I want to run again is to represent people in government. It's one thing to have representation in the opposition. It's another thing to have people that are in government and working. So I am very hopeful with this next election that I will be able to represent our community in government. And I just got the 10-second flag. So again, I'm Brenda Locke and I'm running in Surrey Green Timbers. And I also have to say, I really apologize, but I do have to leave at about 10 to noon. So short time, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Everyone covered, hopefully. One thing I would like to add, this is a tough job. Campaigning is a tough job. I sit at my home, in the office, and I see the hard work being done on the streets. You know, teams, youths, older generations, mixed age, the candidates. It's a tough job. And it's, you know, I wish every one of you all the best. And may you be enriched with the desire fulfilled, hopefully. What we will do is the next round is going to be the designated response or from the parties. And so we have three parties, and please correct me. We have NDP, we have Liberal Party, we have Green Party, and we have then one independent, right? Hopefully. Okay. Did we draw which party going to speak first, or just anybody?
I guess Bob comes first. He's independent,
Okay, is it okay with the candidates to accommodate him?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's a nice gesture, and I hope you guys continue to walk like this once you are elected. Okay, Linda, Brenda. And I hope you know maximum time allowed is 4 minutes.
Oh, 4 minutes.
Yeah, you got time.
First, I wanted to say that being able to serve and even being able to run is a great gift. It's a gift for very many reasons, and when I was elected before, I can tell you that outside of my family, it was probably one of the greatest gifts of my life, only because you do get to genuinely serve and help people. Party platform is one issue, but how you work and how you manage your constituency office, that's where you really touch people's hearts and are able to actually serve people. As people like Harry know all too well, you get to actually make a difference in people's lives. So that's quite a gift for anybody who is an MLA. For the BC Liberal Party, our main focus is on fiscal responsibility. We want to make sure that we are not passing on our debt to our children, to our children, to our grandchildren. So fiscal responsibility is paramount for us. I think for me, that's for sure, that was an important reason I ran in 2001, and that is also a really important reason I'm running now. We have made a lot of other platform pledges that you can read online, but I'll just give you a brief overview. Certainly the issue The issue around the tolls on the bridge have been one. You know they're going to be capped at $500 total. That is a significant savings to people generally, and for people that travel the Portman Bridge and Golden Ears Bridge. We're making huge plans for Site C, and right now there's 2,146 direct jobs there, but there's also lots of other ancillary jobs that are happening all around the province that are directly related to Site C. We've also talked a lot about what we're doing on other projects like the bridge at George Massey. As you all know, if any of you are like me, travel into Vancouver every day, that is not for the faint of heart. It can take you a long time to get to Vancouver. So all these new, with the growth of south of the Fraser, we have to add to that infrastructure. Those are some of those kind of things. We've talked about schools in Surrey. Sarah mentioned schools. We actually have got shovels in the ground happening now in Surrey and have planned for another 7,000 new seats in schools in Surrey, not in portables, but in schools. We're also looking at one of the challenges that we've had with the changes we made with the Pacific Gateway project was the design of some of the accesses and the egresses on the connector to Deltaport, and so those are going to be improved. You've heard over the last few weeks, we've actually heard and seen on the news trailers that have overturned, and that was one of the reasons we must do that. But I think the most important thing, when we look at our province and we look at our country, right now, BC has a AAA credit rating. We are the only province in the country with a AAA credit rating, and that matters. That matters to you because if that goes down, we pay more in debt service, and nobody wants to do that. And I would say that for Canada, we are the only province that's a performing economy. So thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. And since you have to leave, we don't want to leave without paying the price, which is answer a question. So we'll give you one question.
Okay.
Jafar?
Do you have time to stick around till they finish, or?
I think it would be nice. One question at least.
Okay.
That's to do with the backdrop of what's happening around, Canada with regards to Islamophobia.
Mike?
Sorry. Yeah, with what's happening around, Canada right now with regards to Islamophobia and the Quebec mosque incident, and the racist flyers that has been distributed here in BC in different cities. What is the government's plan to combat racism as a whole and combat discrimination?
It's a great and important and serious question for us to all be tackling. One of the things that we've talked about is a lot of the anti-bullying campaigns that are starting to happen in the school and with the police forces, and that's the cornerstone of it all, is getting to children and getting to kids in school and informing them and making sure that they understand what that means. I think we in Canada had a great gift when Pierre Trudeau gave us our human rights codes and all of those things around that made a huge difference. And I talk to my American friends about that all the time. Canada is a mosaic of cultures. We believe, we celebrate, and we love different cultures. And that's the difference between who we are and the melting pot in the United States. And I think it's really important that we continue as government can't control all of those issues, but certainly in terms of how we educate our youth and how the police, how other groups, like other healthcare groups. I can tell you personally, mine is the only healthcare organization where we have diversity training as part of something that we do all the time with our therapists, and we make sure that they understand that. And I think it's important that government require that of all government organizations, that they have proper diversity training. Thank you.
Thank you. One comment I alluded to earlier that we don't have in big numbers present here. But let me assure each and one of you, this is being sponsored by Al-Amin newspaper, which is the voice, eyes and ears of the Muslim community. It is going to reach every household in Surrey, all over the place. So you can be rest assured. Okay, the next would be NDP. Oh, speaking to order. Yeah. No, it makes no difference to me. Since we started with Liberal, as I said, but Bal, I'll go with you. Sure. Thank you.
Okay. So I want to start by saying that we really closely had a look at some of the issues that we're facing here in our community as far as Surrey Newton goes. And it's kind of being left behind. And that all starts with the school system. So we'd definitely like to see a lot more mentorship programs where kids can be actually exposed to different ways of life, that, hey, you know, maybe you could get into entrepreneurship and get somewhere, or get degrees, high-paying jobs out of the normal socially acceptable careers that especially our community puts children through. And having been brought up kind of listening to Gwaliyan, reading history about Shah Ali Ji, Dastagir Ji, having a good understanding as to what kind of different cultures and different races and religions, what kind of path of life they take, that's opened up our mind, especially for acceptance and moving forward. And the first step, like I mentioned, all starts from the high school level. And community resources and having places for all these kids, this next generation, to come together and actually mingle with different races, cultures, and get to understand what their way of life is. And having done that gives you a lot more acceptance. That's one of the best ways to move forward, is to have a long-term plan. There's no real quick solution that we can get rid of discrimination or anything like that overnight. A personal story, we actually put our signs up, and the next day they got vandalized with some graffiti on them. And having been brought up here majority of my life, we're going through the same thing. And we've seen it get worse over the years, and we really need to push for these changes so we can actually have a safe future here. So one of the biggest things that I would want to push for is more community resources, where it be rec centers and at the high school level as well. So those two things are really important for us. And I think over the longer term, getting our generations intermingled with different races and different ways of life would definitely ease off a lot of these issues. And the other thing, infrastructure is a huge hindrance as well, which is affecting job loss in Surrey area, whether it be public, private, or self-employment. The numbers seem to be going down. So having gone to school here, and a lot of people not being able to find a job where they can kind of sustain themselves in their own community, in their own city, it kind of defeats the purpose of coming to such a great country and having gone through the system here and then having to move out, having to make that choice. Hey, do I put food on the table, or do I go where there's jobs for ourselves? So definitely we would focus on bringing in more jobs to the area, whether that be tech jobs or in other industries as far as research or anything like that goes. So those are some of the main focal points that we would be definitely pushing for our community here, especially in Surrey Newton, so we can all have a good and healthy relationship with each other and move forward as a single society and community. And I'm out of time.
Thank you. At this juncture, I would like to acknowledge the presence here of Miracle
Thank you.
and Muslim Journal. And of course, I mentioned Alamin earlier being this chief sponsor. Okay, the next party to respond to this question is NDP.
Thank you, Brother Khan. Sorry, just to clarify, we're doing our 4 minutes on platform first, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So the three main focuses for our campaign, our commitment to the public are, the first one is making life affordable. As you all know, because your MSPs have doubled, your hydro rates have gone up, your ICBC rates have gone up, it's harder and harder to make it. I've been knocking on doors since December in my community, and the biggest issue that comes up is if people have money, they say, how is my neighbor surviving? If they don't have money, they tell us that they can't afford, forget buying a house. They're saying, how do we afford rent? And so the first commitment we've made is making life more affordable. So we've announced that we will be eliminating the tolls on the Golden Ears and Portman Bridge. We've made a commitment to freeze hydro rates and ICBC rates. And you know, I wish Brenda was here, but the criticism you hear from the BC Liberals is, you can't do that. Where's the money going to come from? Well, the truth is, Christy Clark gave $1 billion tax cut to the richest people in this province. And nobody asked her, where's the money going to come from when she did that? She spent $1 million on private jets flying across this province. Nobody asked her where that money is coming from. In BC, we have a budget, and it's about choices, and governments make choices, and they've been making poor choices. The second focus we're going to have is on good-paying jobs. They spent $15 million on advertisements with our own money to tell us how good everybody's life is. Okay, and what they didn't tell you in the advertisements is that 70% of all the jobs they've created, that Christy Clark's created in the last 4 years, have been part-time, low-paying jobs. Okay, that's the underbelly of our economy. They didn't tell you that 500,000 people in this province are making wages that they cannot live on. This is the most affordable place to live in the country, and people are making wages that they cannot live on. The third, so the commitment on good-paying jobs is, we believe as a government, our job is to build social infrastructure. We announced $7 billion social infrastructure plan. So we are going to build schools, we're going to build transit, we are going to build affordable housing across this province. Because when you do that, what happens is the private sector, business people come around and they build businesses around that. You build a transit hub, a developer will come and build housing around that. A small business person will come open a restaurant and coffee shop around that. When you build schools, you can build housing around it. Surrey is an example where they built housing, but they forgot to build social infrastructure, and then you have a crisis on hand. So we believe in the NDP that you need to make investments into social infrastructure as a government, and you let the private sector and the business community build business around that. And the third is services you depend on. It is my belief that Christy Clark has forgotten the people of this region. She became premier, she came here, she took lots of photos, she came here for fundraising, and then she disappeared for 4 years. Schools are in crisis, our kids are in portables. My son's school sent a letter home asking us to send boxes of tissues to them because they didn't have tissues. I mean, we're in the richest province, the richest country in the world, and we don't have tissues for our kids in school. We have seniors who can't get a bath a week. So we are committed to improving the services we depend on, and that includes building schools. It includes building transit. We don't even want private jets. So you can have the private jets. We just want buses in our community so we can get from A to B. And by easing congestion, by eliminating the tolls on the bridges, we will ease congestion in this region. People right now can play ball hockey on Port Mann because it's too expensive for them to take. So now people from Port Mann can take it, it'll ease congestion on Patello, it'll ease congestion in North Delta. So those are the major commitments that we're committing to in this election.
Thank you, Ravi. Green Party?
Hi there. I'm just going to make a note. First-time candidate, just started with my first debate yesterday, so please forgive me for looking at my notes. So I'm just going to talk about a few of our key themes. Starting with housing, we'll work to cool the market by working with the federal government to eliminate money laundering and international speculation. We'll increase the foreign buyers tax and apply it across the whole province. We'll increase it to 30%. So that's, if you're paying income tax in Canada, you would not be paying that tax. We'd increase the supply of affordable housing by investing up to $750 million per year for up to 4,000 new units. We'd strengthen protection for renters. Under income security, we'd increase the person with disability rate significantly by 50% by 2020, 10% by the end of this year. We'll do a basic income supports for youth aging out of foster care. We'll do a basic income pilot project as well to look at applying that across the province. Basic income would be something along the lines of $50,000 to $20,000 per year. And that would bring system-wide social return on investment. So we'd see lower healthcare costs, lower justice system costs, and other costs from people who suffer social impacts from inadequate program support, such as the welfare rates, which are currently too low. So basically provide a very level standard that someone can always count on so that their lives don't get thrown into crisis and they don't suffer through social problems like addiction. We'd establish a fair wage commission to look at minimum wage. We'd roll MSP into the payroll and income tax to make sure it's progressive. Currently it's a regressive, almost flat tax. We'd institute a lifelong learning program, so we'd bring in free daycare for working parents with kids under 3, up to 25 hours a week of free early childhood education for 3 to 4-year-olds. Some support for kids with a stay-at-home parent, up to $500. Sorry, I'm not sure if that's a month or a year. A month. Increased funding for public schools, up to $4 billion over 4 years. Increased adult basic education funding. Funding for nutrition, $35 million for nutrition and fitness. Needs-based grants for post-secondary and loan forgiveness up to $2,000 a year in student debt. We'd establish a new economy task force to help transition us towards the 21st century economy of well-paying high-tech jobs, working in tandem with our resource sector towards a low-carbon economy. We'd also support the small and medium enterprises with a $50 million business incubator fund. We strengthen our regulatory regime for our natural resource sector, including $20 million for new enforcement, and we'd rebuild our science capacity in the public service. We'll support local food with local food awareness and local food consumption with investments of $30 million. We'd increase ALR protection, agricultural land reserve, and stop speculation and mega mansions on our ALR land. On health, we'd establish a task force to ensure that the mix of services better meets the treatment and prevention needs, including primary care. We'd invest $100 million to expand integrated primary care, including more nurses. We'd establish an essential care or essential drugs program. We'd put in $40 million in for long-term care. We'd establish a Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions. $80 million in early intervention, community and mental health and supervised injection. $35 million for home care. $100 million for child protection services, and on transit we'd invest $25 million in public transit, $152 million in capital to match the federal investment. We'd empower the males. Okay.
Thank you.
We'd unprivatize BC ferries and ban corporate and union donations.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, before we move on to the next round, as you may have noticed, Brenda gave a presentation and then she left. So, just to be fair with everybody, I'll allow each party to give a response for 1 minute to the comments she had made. First question. And in case you want the question to be repeated, I will ask Jafar to...
Yes,
To a platform or to the question?
The question.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Islamophobia, rising discrimination, and how the parties will tackle it. Right?
Bal?
Okay.
Yeah. 1 minute. Just to remind you. Bal, you have got 1 minute.
Okay. Yeah, I think I touched upon this a little bit in the last little part here. I mean, it all starts with allowing our communities to grow together in a sense where they have some spaces where they can intermingle. I mean, getting to know people of different races is one of the easiest ways to make sure that our generation, the next generation, is a lot more tolerant of different cultures and races. So, drawing from our own experiences and being exposed to different cultures gives us a lot more broader of a spectrum of understanding these cultures. So I think, again, the biggest thing is we need to tackle this issue at the high school level. It is a longer term approach, and we do need facilities where everybody can come together, develop leadership skills, understand different cultures, and definitely have awareness programs as well, whether that be for the Muslim community or the Sikh community or whichever one it may be. That definitely needs to be out there. Thank you.
Thank you. NDP?
So it's a very serious issue, the Islamophobia, and we cannot underplay it. Our leader, John Horgan and NDP have already announced that we will bring back the Human Rights Commission. Human Rights Commission was, we had it before the Liberals came in 2001, and then they got rid of it. And there has been a lot of outcry in the community, and the people have been demanding that it should be brought back, but the Liberals have not even paid heed over it. So that is our commitment, and we want to bring we think that education is the key. We will be, and that's the role that Human Rights Commission can do, educating people, making awareness about those issues, and making it a very serious issue that we need to tackle, not underplaying it and not saying that it is just like few stupid people who are doing this thing. It is like a thought behind it, and we have to fight it.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you. So I mentioned that we would invest $4 billion over 4 years in public education. Part of that is to restore guidance counseling and some of the other broader support services in schools that have been cut over recent years. And a big part of that will go towards helping with integration within the school system and the sensitivity and awareness training that students receive in those schools. A lot of those extra kinds of supports have been cut. And in addition, we put in our $10 million towards free adult education and empowering a lot of the people who use adult basic education are newcomers, so empowering them to be more empowered in our communities will help to facilitate that over time.
Okay, I will need, thank you very much, Jafar's help now, because he has been sitting at the back and vetting the questions of the members present here. So he will be asking the question, and this will be on the same order we addressed earlier. So in other words, Brad will, Balpreet, yeah. Balpreet will answer. The candidate will have 2 minutes to answer these questions, and only one candidate from the remaining party will have 1 minute for a rebuttal. So be aware of this. And Bal, question?
You got a few questions about education, I guess, so that's the most topmost question here. Liberals have promised to keep the funding for the private schools or even increase it, such as for BC Muslim school, the Council school, the Christian schools that are in the community. how would your party deal with private schools funding? And I'll just add another question. Funding for special needs students has been cut under the current government. How would your party deal with that?
Yeah, education definitely important. Private schools, they play a good part in the community as far as teaching culture, about your religion and everything. Me personally, having gone through Khalsa school as well, there's a lot of things I learned there that I might not have through the public school system. If it cuts out of the public school system and they're taking funding from that to actually put towards private schools, that's not always the best way to go forward with it, but definitely we do need to keep our private schools around so we can pass on our legacy to our children. And a lot of education reform talks have been happening, but none of that really includes specific cultures. So these institutions are definitely important as far as that goes. Khalsa School, BC Muslim School, and there's a few other ones there. And the second part, as disabled children funding, that definitely is important, and we need to keep that because everybody has the same right for education so they can have a safe future here. And it's a little hard to pinpoint that, hey, this children is a little bit more important than this one, so that's why everybody should have and can have the same right to education so they can all progress in their lives. So definitely that's something that should still be there, and it does need to be pushed a little higher so it can accommodate everybody that is being left out currently.
All right. I want to thank the elder statesman for giving the young rookie the chance to talk today. I think that our position is, our belief is, if a family wants to raise their child with certain values and the importance of religion, that they should have that opportunity. And so our position is that we are going to leave that funding as it is, because I think it's important. As the diversity of our community makes us stronger. It's not the US system where they think everyone should assimilate to be one. I think our different languages, our different faiths, our different backgrounds makes our community much stronger than the US, and so we want to celebrate that.
Special needs?
What was the question? Yeah.
The Green Party also wouldn't take any funding away from independent schools. We see that there's a place for independent schools for a variety of reasons, including faith-based reasons, and some students just do better in alternate type schools as well. We would dramatically increase funding for, significantly I should say, increase funding for public schools, and that would include funding for special needs students as well.
Another one, kind of sensitive one, sex education in basically ethnic communities. It's a big sensitive topic, and a lot of parents wish that it is not mandatory at schools. How would your party deal with it, and can you make it optional for parents to opt out and have their own faith-based, sex education, especially in elementary schools? So, same NDP.
I think our whole system is based on consultation and community-based. And you don't want to make changes expressing as a government that we know the best. You need to go to the community, make sure the community is with you anytime you are trying to change the curriculum, because at the end of the day, it has to be the community input, and if the community is with you on whatever alternative education that you want to bring, it has to be the community decision. And I don't believe government imposing their opinion on parents or on students. So I think that's where we'll stay.
say the Green Party would think that sex education is important, but I think we'd certainly be willing to listen to communities who have concerns about that. I don't want to make policy up on the spot, so I don't want to make a commitment for my party I haven't discussed.
The next question would be to the... Yeah, Rachel. Yeah. A lot of questions about marijuana decriminalizations, drugs, gangs, and all that. Your party's position on decriminalizing marijuana, and how it would affect the youth and the gangs, obviously it's all related to it.
Having worked as an alcohol and drug counselor, I know the problem that as a community we face, like about the decriminalizing. My take on it is like if we decriminalize anything, then it reduces the crime. It also we save lives that way. And I'm not. I've seen like one safe injection site. I'll just give you an example. We have one in downtown East Side, inside. Since that has opened and the statistics have come out and shown us like how many lives we have been able to save. So it is like it is not that we are trying to like distribute drugs and we are trying to make it very easy access to people. It is about the health and safety that we are concerned about, and whenever such things happen, it has to be done. They're very well regulated. So that's what like I think more focus would be like how it would be just saying that we will decriminalize, but like we should be like proper research goes into it, like how it would be done and how it would be regulated, and that's what we will focus on.
As we all know, that drug issue is coming a big issue especially in Surrey, I'll say. Every corner you go around, you'll see people dealing drugs. And that has been right behind my back, Ali, too. So how do you raise your own kids when you see a situation like that? Some parties want to make the younger generation to have their hands on, and I am posing that name. The kids should be at least 25. If they are medically, they need it, or any seniors or any person who really needs that type of drugs. Yes, we will agree with that. But in general public, I am posing those. Even they want to make all the policies. Yes, we allow them. No, we Green Party has heard from other people that hey, because we are green, and that label is labeled on us as drugs, as marijuana. We are not a marijuana party at all. I have seen that part. So I just want to clarify that, hey, we are not. We are against that. Making all those policies, yes, we are really, really stricted on those ones. Kids under the age of schools, and some of them want to put it in schools. We are opposing all those stuffs. So as marijuana, yes, is a big issue. That causes us all these gang fights, shootings every day that need to be stopped. Thank you.
Yeah, I think supply is readily available. I mean, you could literally go anywhere and buy yourself weed. The issue here is, do we focus on saving lives? And I believe a well-regulated system can help us achieve that and get kids off the street. Once it becomes regulated, first of all, dosages can be monitored, so all this whole fentanyl crisis, marijuana being laced with that, and all these deaths happening, that we can decrease the number for that. And it is definitely a gateway drug for dealers, as far as even at the high school level goes. They start dealing marijuana first and then get into some of the harder drugs. So having that legalized would allow us to reduce the number of people going down that path. And definitely just for economic reasons, not for the purpose that everybody should be doing drugs, but for the people that are going to do them, the supply is there. So if we really regulate it properly and we advocate for that, I believe that we could reduce the number of fatalities.
Okay. The next question is to Kerry. Again, crimes and drugs, there's a lot of questions there. What will you do to prevent youth members from entering drugs and gangs?
Thank you. I think it is one of the key issues facing our community right now. And we see bullets flying every day. On average, once a week somebody's getting shot. We have to stop that. And we've been in the forefront for the last 5-6 years now to draw the attention of provincial government to come to the table with the local government and police and the community to come up with a comprehensive plan to deal with this drug, gun and violence and crime in Surrey. We not only accuse them or we oppose them or we told them how bad they are, we actually propose our solutions to that as well. They're called Surrey Accord. And as a result of us pushing, City of Surrey ended up hiring 100 new police officers. But there are other components to that they haven't met, like having a specialized court, which Vancouver had. We were promised, we don't have it. Having a comprehensive mental health plan. Vancouver has it, we don't have it. And regulated recovery homes. Government hasn't done that. They deregulated in 2003. While on the prevention side, we have actually been pushing the government to provide resources to a program like a wraparound program in Surrey schools. Very successful. Many ex-gang members give credit to this program. It's because of that program they're out and they are doing the right things now. And so we will ask the government to provide them resources because there were 30 to 40 kids on the waiting list there on that program. When a kid needs help today, they're being pulled towards the gangs, they need help today. They shouldn't be told that you go on the waiting list. So we actually, I convinced my colleagues here, we convinced our leader, we came and announced $500,000 steady annual funding along with $700,000 that they received from the federal government so that no kid should be able to go, should be told to go on a waiting line, that we can prevent them from going to the gang life. Thank you.
Manpreet, you want to go first?
Yeah, we really need to start at the grassroots level. I mean, even when we were in high school, had the same opportunity. When you see these people roll up in nice cars with their jewelry and this and that, it's a lot more easier to get attracted to that lifestyle, especially when they're making you offers that, hey, we're willing to pay you this much money, all you gotta do is this certain task. But now, kids are not being exposed to different ways of life, them seeing that, hey, the normal doctor, engineer, lawyer route is a little bit of a longer path. They sometimes want the shortcut. They want the nice cars, the nice houses. And at that level, if we can implement mentorship programs to expose them to people that, hey, you can also live this alternative lifestyle, not look over your shoulder, and not know if you're going to make it past 22, 23 or not. You can still have a nice home, a nice car, and live a comfortable lifestyle. So definitely at that level, and provide them with enough resources so they do have that outlet when they are in a troubled state. You don't want them tipping over the other edge and having that proper outlet to go and talk to. Thank you.
I look at it in a different way. I have 4 kids. I have seen that. I have seen my neighbors. And I have seen my friend here. They have lost a family member. Seeing all that, where did it come from? Where did it start? How did it start? From your own home. Kids cannot go to school. They want easy money. They don't have any education. They want to make it easily. That's how people try to make them get into drugs. We have a program for the kids who will not be able to, when they go out, they could not support themselves. We have funding. We Green Party are going to put those kids to work. We will have funding, livable income for them, so they don't have to do drugs at least. At least we can save a lot of lives in that way.
Next question is to Brother Ravi here. A lot of questions about indirect taxes. BC Hydro, rates are going up, ICBC insurance, cost of all or some of the cars. Why do we have to pay for tolls, for bridges?
I got half an hour to talk about this. No, thank you for the question, brother. And I think I said that in my opening remark. It's, you know, the government, Christy Clark likes to go on TV and say, look, we're keeping taxes low. Well, the truth is, just because the word taxes isn't on MSP, on hydro rates, ICBC, on tolls, these are taxes. And the question isn't about taxes. The question is, who are they charging taxes to, and who are other people charging taxes to? We've proposed cuts to ICBC, cuts to hydros, cuts to tolls, and Christy Clark's proposal is cuts to millionaires, giving them $250 million a cut. So I think that you know, people are struggling. Like I said, I've been knocking on doors since December. People are genuinely struggling. They cannot make rent. Like, people are talking about buying houses. People cannot afford the rents, and the reason why is everything is going up. And you know, the business next door to me is a laundromat. She says, if hydro rates keep going up, how am I going to afford this? And let me go back to one thing on hydro. So Brenda, before she left, said, oh, I'm very proud to support Site C. Site C is a $10 billion project being built in the interior of BC. We don't need energy in this province. Everything is energy efficient now. Fridges are energy efficient, stoves are energy efficient. The demand for energy actually is level. It's not going up. And so what's going to happen with that is that hydro is going to spend $10 billion, and when the rates go up, what the biggest businesses are telling us is that they're going to get off the grid. They're going to invest in solar, they're going to invest in wind, and who's going to be left with all that debt? The middle class. And so I think what I recommend to everybody is watch BC Hydro. It's very important for the future of our economy. It's very important for us as the middle class working people, because all that debt they're incurring is going to be left on us.
Thank you. So the BC Greens would do a comprehensive review of the tax system in coordination with the federal government to help ensure that all of the taxes that we pay are progressive. Currently, a number of the taxes we pay, or hidden taxes, are regressive, including MSP. I mentioned earlier that we would roll MSP into payroll and income taxes so that it's proportional to your income as the regular tax scheme is. And with regard to hydro as well, a lot of hydro's costs are inflated because they have to buy power back from the independent power producers. We also don't support Site C. It's an economic and environmental boondoggle.
Question to Sarah. This has to do with NDP question, but the proposal of $10 daycare. What is the Greens party's, I guess,
We're going to be giving everybody free. No more $10. That people want to work, people want to get out. Some parents doesn't want to leave their kids at a daycare. We have seen all that stuff. We have seen kids dying in daycares. So we are trying to help those families who are starting their family. So we want to put a little bit of effort in there to make sure everybody can start to grow in a proper way. So that's what we will do. We'll give free. And on the other hand, about taxes, we are trying to not waive tolls from the bridge, just because we have costs at the end of the day, but we will eliminate we will freeze some of the pays, you know, how it, if we have to pay $3 to go over with a car, we probably will freeze some of them. And for the big trucks going over every day, some of them they have to go 3-4 times, and we will look into those ones too. ICBC is a big issue for everybody. And I think we should have some incentives, because some people does have 2-3 cars in the houses. They should have some incentives for those. I think those are the things that we will look into it. Thank you.
You want to respond or you complete and then you get out? Whatever.
I mean, just touching on that, ICBC rates in particular seems to be a really hot topic there. And I believe we should have a little bit of a free economy as far as that goes and healthy competition goes. So there should be open competition to ICBC, which would help reduce some of these rates. And that's something that's already been proven in some of the other provinces within Canada. So there's no reason to keep it just a monopoly. And even if you do have another option, your basic rates you still have to get from ICBC currently. So one of the easiest things would be to increase competition. That generally, economically, would lead to lower prices for everybody and keep more money in our pockets. So that's definitely something I think that's really important for us.
Yeah, I'll just quickly respond to that. The highest ICBC rates in this country are in Ontario, and they've got a private system. So I think we need to look at that, and we need to find efficiencies, but the topic is daycare. And my son just came out of daycare, and we had a big celebration because he got to go to school, and we didn't have to pay $1,250 a month. And you know, our belief, our party's belief is two things. First, our belief is that the best way to deal with children, our children, is family reunification. Okay, families come here, having their grandparents be able to come join them, help raise the kids. That's how I was raised. That is the number one option. If you don't have that option, we believe we need affordable daycare, and we're proud that we propose this solution that gives young families an opportunity to get some support while they go out and try to make a career for themselves.
The next question to Jackie. Questions about housing affordability here in Lower Mainland. What is the Greens' position, and how will you tackle housing affordability for people, residents here?
Thank you. So, firstly, we'd work with the federal government to work to reduce to eliminate money laundering and international property speculation, which is overheating the market and driving our prices up. We would increase the foreign buyers tax to 30% and apply it across the province. And that means that if you live here and you pay tax, you wouldn't have to pay income tax. You wouldn't have to pay that tax. So that's not a tax on the people here. In addition, we would invest $750 million in affordable housing, bringing in 4,000 units a year. We would also undertake a comprehensive rethink of zoning to help to increase affordable housing stock. We would do that in consultation with municipalities as they have the final say on build form. We would also invest $100 million a year in social housing for retrofits.
Thank you. I think it's one of the key issues going into this election is affordability, and home housing affordability is really the key. What we are saying is what we have been saying for the last 2 years now, when the government was promoting to go to China, Singapore, and India to come and invest in our housing market, and not even realizing where their money is coming or how this money is coming into our market. And so we said, follow the money. And establish a task force to find out how this money ends up here. Is it money laundering? Let's find out. And also tax the empty homes. Those people who don't pay taxes here, they should be taxed, and use that money to invest in on the supply side. So we have said 114,000 rental and affordable houses will be built by the NDP, and $400 for the assistance to the renters who are not able to buy the house, but they will get $400 rental assistance.
I think for housing especially, the focus has to be on fixing the supply issue. I mean, even with the 15% tax and the other 5% down payment helper, all it's done is push up prices. I mean, we see no change from last year. The supply is still the same. There's still multiple offers. Everything's still going over asking. So even if we keep our focus on trying to control the demand, nothing's really going to happen. It is a supply issue. So speeding up processes in city halls for all that supply that's tied up there to be on the market to help relieve off pressure, and investing in infrastructure to actually connect communities to ease off pressure and have people live a few distance away, and being able to jump on a SkyTrain or whichever means of transportation to go to work where they need to get to, that would definitely alleviate the pressure off of this. And incentivizing developers to build rental onlys, have a restriction on title so they can't sell individual units, would definitely reduce affordable housing rates as well.
Back to Paul for the question, another question about schools here, education. With a lot of Muslim schools a lot of Muslim students in certain areas, there's concentration of high Muslim in certain schools would like to have Arabic as a language taught in the schools. And Diwali and other special days are introduced in the school. Can all multicultural festivals be included from the Muslim community, for example, the Eid?
I mean, definitely, it needs to be an inclusive society. For example, Punjabi made its way into schools, so definitely we could consult with the community and make enough awareness, create enough pressure, so students should have the option to learn that language if there is enough demand for it. That's definitely something that should be there. And festivities, definitely, I mean, you see some of the Punjabi cultures being celebrated, obviously the Caucasian ones as well. And living in Surrey, being multicultural, we do definitely need to provide these things. And that goes back to the first topic as well, that having these implemented there would definitely raise more awareness to all the other kids, and it would work towards a more inclusive society as well. So definitely it's a win-win for everybody.
No, I totally in favor of this. Like NDP was the party that brought Punjabi into the Surrey schools, and we believe that the languages enrich our education system, and if any student is learning more language, the better it is, and we will support that. And for even from the career point of view, it is like always better to know more languages, so we will support that.
We don't currently have a policy on that, but I strongly believe that the Green Party would work towards that and support that, both for Arabic in schools, should the population size warrant that in the community in question, and definitely a commitment to equality amongst all cultures' holidays, not just one dominant culture's holidays. And I'd just like to reiterate the Green Party's commitment against Islamophobia.
Just doing one for party.
Yeah. Okay. We're just rounding up 2-3 questions now. I mean, seniors are finding hard time to get in on the waiting list and the care that they're receiving in senior housing, like that lady 56 days without a bath, doesn't represent well for us Canadians, and as well as farmer care. How do we bring the prescription prices down, or how do we deal with it?
Yeah. Okay. As I said in my opening, 5 out of 6 senior homes in my community alone don't meet the minimum standard for care for seniors. I mean, what kind of society do you live in that when your parents or your grandparents get to the stage where they need support and they can't get it? And that's one element of it. The other element is support at home. If your parent doesn't want to go to a home, there should be support in the house, because you know what? That's every dollar we spend on providing supports in somebody's home saves the hospitals and our healthcare systems 10 times. So our priority, our focus is, yes, we need to improve our facilities across the province, but more importantly, we need to invest in money in providing seniors supports at home. And that's not just seniors, that's also families who have an elder person in their family that they need support. Sometimes there's some personal things that you cannot help your parent or loved one with, and we believe those supports need to be in place. What was it? Pharmacare. There's this thing, a UBC, called the UBC Therapeutics Initiative. Basically, this organization is a University of British Columbia run operation, and they look at all the drugs that we have to buy, and they try to find cheaper alternatives. And that initiative, it's very low in cost to run, but actually saves millions of dollars for our healthcare system, as well millions of dollars for people, because we end up buying it. And this current government has been trying to shut these guys down for years, and they're barely scraping by. So we have made a commitment that we're going to support them, that if they can find generic drugs at a cheaper cost to the big companies, that we will go there. Because right now the pharmaceutical companies are spending big dollars to lobby the government, and they're getting their way. But we believe that that will change if we form government.
Thank you. So I mentioned that we would implement an essential drugs program that would be designed to reduce the cost of prescription drugs, so that the cost of drugs isn't a barrier to healthcare, which it is currently to many people, including my mother, who has diabetes and has had a stroke and spends thousands of dollars just to survive. So that's healthcare. And then for seniors, we'd invest $35 million over 4 years in home care to enable seniors and other people with disabilities to stay in their homes. This is a program that my mother depends on, and so we would increase the support for that. She gets to have somebody help her have a shower, once or twice a week, and I think it's very important for us to provide support for that to happen more often. We would also increase staffing for the other care homes, so that people are well taken care of there.
Yeah, I mean, we need to take care of our seniors, and like they mentioned, in-home care would definitely help with that. And also, if you can take care of your seniors at home, there's less of a need to put them in senior facilities as well. But the ones already there definitely need to have enough funding to make sure that they're also enjoying a comfortable lifestyle, having contributed so much to society. They deserve a lot better than that. And like they mentioned, supporting initiatives such as researching on more generic drugs and having that available is definitely something that we would advocate for as well.
Yes, we'll just lump two questions together, and we'll just probably end it up. A lot of professionals are coming in with degrees from outside, credentials. I think the federal government has made an initiative right now to provide them some kind of education loan. Is there anything in the provincial party platforms?
So your question specifically about people with credentials who are coming here who want their credentials to be recognized. I think within our platform, the most relevant point would be, just for us to help with needs-based grants for post-secondary students and loan forgiveness. I don't have a specific point on credential recognition. I think that through support for that further education, to bring down the cost of further education, that's how we would presently support it.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest fraud that I've seen the governments are engaged in is in this situation. Our Canadian government goes abroad and goes all different countries, and they tell all those professionals that we need your skills in Canada. But soon they land here, and they get the immigration based on their skills. Soon they land in Vancouver or Toronto airport, they're told your skills are no good, your credentials are no good. And if that's not fraud, what that is, I don't know. So I think what I have done is I put private members' bill in the House, trying to deal with this issue. Ontario and Manitoba has also done some similar situations there that require the self-regulating bodies to modernize their bylaws, to allow these people from with foreign credentials to have a one-stop a place where they can actually look at what their credentials are and what they need to get to be acceptable in Canada. We need to do that, and we need to do that a long time ago, and this government has ignored it. As they say, you know, if you want to have a heart attack, it's probably better to do it in a taxi, because chances are you probably are driven by a doctor. And we have a shortage of doctors. There are over 115,000 families have no families physician in Canada, and in BC, I mean. So I don't know why the government is sleeping on this one.
Yeah, definitely there needs to be a lot more communication with these regulatory bodies to streamline the process and also shorten it for credentials. I mean, when somebody's coming over with the high hopes of getting a job here and then they find out, hey, it might take 5 to 10 years to get to a point where you can actually practice. I mean, that's a little bit of actually not a little bit, quite a bit of an issue. I mean, we've seen some doctors coming over from abroad, they're working in warehouses and like you mentioned, driving cabs. I mean, we really need to put them to work and actually ease the pressure off of our system. So those credential system definitely needs to be streamlined. There needs to be a lot more work done with these regulatory bodies to help facilitate that change.
Okay, just a final question, I guess, only with the NDP and the Greens, the only parties here. Is there a difference between provincial and federal parties? NDP in provincial and NDP federal, and Greens provincial, Greens federal.
Yeah. For us, there is no difference. When you become member of the NDP, you are the member of the provincial and federal. But I think, you know, it's important part to distinguish. It was mentioned here by Brenda Locke when she was speaking on one issue that Trudeau brought in Charter of Rights and Human Rights. I'll tell you what, BC Liberals are no Trudeau Liberals. And these are probably much closer to the Harpers. Everyone who lost their job when Harper lost his job in Ottawa, most of them are working for Christy Clark right now. And this is their tactic, not to appear in front of people and they stay away from the all candidate, be held accountable and answer questions. This is exactly, you see, a pattern right now in this election. They don't show your face. They want you to vote for them, but they don't want to answer any questions. They don't want to be held accountable for their past neglect of their government. So I think this is exactly what it is. BC Liberals are Harper Liberals, actually.
Thank you. So the Green Party of Canada and the Green Party of BC are separately incorporated entities, but we share 6 core common values, so the 6 values of the Global Greens. So it's social justice.
Okay, it was an interesting exchange of views, and I certainly hope that we have been given enough information on these important subjects for the voters to at least make an attempt at making up your minds. This brings us to the last question. In fact, you could also translate this as your closing remark. Okay, so you can combine the two, and I will be asking each candidate to do that as in accordance with that criteria we have established. And the question is, in one word, describe yourself, sell yourself. Okay? In one word.
You're asking politicians.
Yeah. But then, as I said, use it as a closing remark, so you have 1 minute. Okay? So we have Balpreet.
Thank you. So that one word for us would be collaborative. And the reason for that being, even within our own business, collectively we speak 13 languages, and written there's 10. So we're huge advocates for everybody working together and succeeding as a community. It's not a one-man race, it's not a one-community race. It is for our whole community, it's for our next generations. So I won't take too much time, just want to say that everybody needs to come together on the same table. We need to set up our youth for success so they can collaborate with other cultures and races and rise together. That's really important for us, sorry, and we're gonna push for whatever it is we can do to make that happen, whether it be at the high school level, whether it be infrastructure, whether it be maintaining jobs here and building a much more collaborative and inclusive environment for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have next Rachna Singh.
So you just want one word? And then,
Describe yourself,
okay.
and then you can speak for another minute.
Okay. So I would say I'm an advocate for working families and for people, and that's what I have been, like I did before, and that's what I will be doing. Like I have been door knocking, and the issues that I'm been hearing, those are the issues that I have gone through myself, whether it is affordability, it is education, being mother of 2 children. I know how education is important and how we need to fund all that. About the jobs, I have a young son who is getting into post-secondary education, and it is a challenge for me as a working mother, like how that he should, one thing, get proper education, and I should have the resources for that. And this is like, that's why I'm very proud to be with a party that really understands the issues of the people and making life affordable and easy for everybody, not just for the 2% rich people. And also for the jobs, I really want, like my son, for everybody to get good, well-paid jobs, not just part-time casual jobs with which they cannot get their life on.
Thank you. I'm sure you are not going to win those 4 votes.
Well, I consider myself to be activist, and I can tell you whether I'm in politics or not, I will continue to stand up and fight for equality for all. That's my goal in life, and that's what I'll die with. And because I believe every human being deserves to live a life of respect and dignity, and being themselves. But let's see, on May 9th, you have a choice. You have a government for the last 16 years. They will tell you what they will do now, but they had 16 years to do it. On one hand, they gave tax breaks to richest 2% of the province, $1 billion. On the other hand, everyone else had to pay for that, BC Hydro, ICBC, MSB premiums. So what we're saying is that we want to make life more affordable for the middle class, hardworking people and the small businesses by freezing ICBC, by freezing BC Hydro, eliminating MSP premiums, and giving $400 to the renters. $15 minimum wage we need to raise, and getting rid of the big money from politics, so that everyone will have the same influence as compared to what in liberal government right now. They have only the millionaires have the influence. So I would also say, please vote, because it's a very, very precious right. Make sure you exercise it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi.
One word to describe how I feel is grateful. I'm grateful for everyone to come today. This is what democracy is. People coming forward, listening to people who have ideas, and they're putting their ideas forward, asking us tough questions. This is not what it should be before every election. This is what it should be all the way through when somebody gets elected as well. And I'm grateful for the people that have come together. I'm grateful for the organizers today for having us. And I hope if I'm elected and you call, even if no one comes, we will come, because you do great work in the community. I spent 7 years in the business community, and for 7 years I was told only the Conservatives or the BC Liberals care about business. Well, let me tell you, what I've learned from getting involved in politics is that you can be in the business community and still care about your community. You can still be in the business community and care about kids in our community and our seniors, and that's what the BC NDP is today. I'm proud to be a part of this team, and I look forward to May 9th, and I'm hoping to count on your support.
Thank you. Sarah?
My one word will be change. Let's make a change on May 9. That's very important, because we have gone through a lot for the last 16 years, as my friend have said. Now it's time to change. We want a good future. We want a good future for our kids. We need to move on. Enough is enough. We are in crisis. If you look at ourselves, our kids are going down the drain. Economy is going down the drain. If you guys look at it, our kids will not be able to afford any more homes. We used to own mega homes. Yes, we are happy about it, but if you had 2 kids, 3 kids, they're not going to be that lucky as we were. So time has come. Our healthcare is going crisis. We need another hospital. As I have said it before too, that hey, look at Surrey. From 1987 to now, it has gone, I don't know, triple maybe, population-wise, could be. But we have a lot of land that we can build a hospital. So I request each and every one, please come out on May 9 and vote. At least vote, whoever you want to vote, please come out and vote for sure.
Thank you. Jackie?
Thank you. So my one word is hardworking. The hardworking describes me as a self-employed person who works more than full-time and then volunteers pretty much all the rest of my time to help to create the change that I want to see in the world. I have been working to help support First Nations in particular, but also to help to build the Green Party into the alternative that I'd like to see. I've worked closely with Elizabeth May and other Green Party leaders, and I know them to be the hardest working people around. They don't miss a beat, but they're working so hard to make the change that we need. And with regard to the choice ahead of you, I'd like to put it to you that the Green Party is the only party currently that doesn't take big money. We don't take money from corporations or unions. Currently, there's a crisis in our democracy. 40% of people don't vote. People feel that the system is rigged, and it's rigged by the powerful. And the best way to solve this crisis is to take big money out now, and the Green Party's taken a lead in doing this in advance of the election. So vote on May 9th or in the advance polls and vote Green.
Thank you very much, and allow me to take this opportunity and thank all the candidates. And as alluded earlier, wish you all the best. And to our fellow members, vote is your right. Voting is your right. It's your privilege. We must exercise that, which means do everything at our means, at our disposal to find out about the policies, the platforms, but do exercise your voting rights. So with these words, I'll be asking the MC to formally conclude the program, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Sikandar. It's time to conclude the program. We hope that issues raised would help voters to decide which party they want to vote. But again, as candidates have said that, we all have said that same thing, and I reiterate the same, that please do go out and vote on May 9th. And there is advanced polling. Voters card would be arriving soon, and some people might have gotten the voters card, but your voter information card would tell you the address of your advanced polling. Advanced polling is on April 29th and 30th, and May 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. All eligible voters all advanced polling is open to all eligible voters, and all advanced voting locations are wheelchair accessible as well. On behalf of Alami newspaper and BCMA Surrey Delta branch, I thank all the candidates who came here, who took their time, and we wish them the best of luck in their campaign. And I thank all the brothers and sisters who are in the audience who took their time in the morning, who came out to show them that we are interested. And all the media, special thanks to all the media who is going to bring all these issues raised to the general public who couldn't make it. And they always do a good job, but the issues, as Brother Sikandar said, that the rest assured that these issues which we talked about and whatever you said will be brought by our local media to the public, and the public will be well aware, and we hope that there will be more participation in the election because of you coming here and people putting forward questions forward. So with all that, I thank everybody who came today, and wish you the good day or rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.